So tonight is the event where you have the opportunity to ask the candidates your questions, to get their insights on issues that you guys might have problems with, or things that you want some answers to.
Like Todd said, I'm Kelly Lieben. I'm currently your Burleigh County Sheriff, and I say your sheriff, and I say that a lot because I truly believe this position belongs to the people. And that's one of the things I stress every time I get the opportunity, because I serve at the pleasure of the citizens of Burleigh County. And if I'm not doing the job they want me to do, then they're going to vote me out of office. So I believe the position belongs to you, and that's something I'll never forget. Real quick, I want to tell you about, in 2018, I made promises to the voters. I promised I had a vision for the agency and the passion to carry it out. I promised that I could lead that agency on day one. I promised I'd work with law enforcement at all levels, and I promised we would build relationships within Burleigh County. I'm honored to stand here tonight and tell you those promises were kept. That's been a priority of mine since day one, and I'm truly honored that it's been a priority of every man and woman that serves in our agency. As far as 2022, COVID threw us a curveball like it did a lot of the world in the United States. A lot of what we wanted to accomplish, we didn't get done yet. We have accomplished a lot, but we got more to do. I still have the passion and vision for that agency, and that's why I made the decision to seek re-election. Although I'm running unopposed at this time, I still think it's important for you to get a chance to talk to me and hear what I'm about. Thank you for the support you've given our agency, and I'd ask for your support in November. Thank you.
This is one of the most important things you guys can do as citizens, is to be informed voters. Not only just a voter, but an informed voter. And that's one of the things that pushes me to become a better politician and a better servant of the people, is to have a engaged public. Because a republic, a democracy, is not ruled by the majority. It's ruled by the majority who votes. A little bit about myself. I actually grew up in Minnesota. I'm the youngest of 13 children. And I moved right out here almost right after high school to marry my beautiful wife, Alexandria, who's in the crowd right now. We have two little kids, Martin and Charlotte, who are thankfully not screaming right now. And been out here since 2013. I absolutely love this community, and I love this area of the state. And so a few years ago, 2 years ago actually, I ran for Bismarck City Commission, which I currently am a city commissioner. And the things that I ran on was government transparency, limited spending, and I also want to listen to the people. I wanted to be a man for the people who votes for the people at all times. But I'm happy to be able to say that I have done my absolute best to do that. I have been a tax assessor for Burleigh County for the last 8 years. I've worked right alongside the auditor's office that entire time. And many of the things that they do, it goes unnoticed. They collect property taxes, and most of all, the county auditor directly oversees the elections. And that is a big deal, especially with in the last few years. It has come very much to the forefront. And one thing that I definitely want to do as auditor is I want to increase and be ahead and on the edge of security, on the absolute cutting edge of security for our elections. Because if we don't have secure elections, we don't have a country anymore. Now is the time that we need to bring absolute transparency and passionate patriotism to every single office, whether it's city, school, county, state, or national. And it is my goal to bring that to this office, to support you guys and to make sure that our future for our children is safe and secure.
So my name is Kirsten Deforeck. Of course, I'm running for county auditor. My family's in the audience, my husband Dan and son Radek. We've been married for 26 years. He's an Air Force veteran. We were stationed in Texas, Oklahoma, and now we call Bismarck home. My priorities for the county is to have safe and secure elections, much like everybody, right? We need to make sure that they're safe, they're secure, so much so, and that your voice is your vote. And I'm also making sure that there are private voting and so forth. Also spending, making sure that the budgets are within they need to be. It is not my job to set the budget, but however, to oversee them and to see that they are being spent wisely, and as your citizens. So with that, I'm not a big speaker, as you can tell. I'd rather do the question and answer, and that's why we're here. So with that, I'm going to step aside.
It's really an honor to be to win the primary and be your Senate candidate. For the ones that don't know me real well, I am a representative for District 28. In the new District 8, a large part of the new district was 28. So there was no incumbent senator in the new district, and that's why I decided after 6 years in the House, I would like to see what it's like in the other side of the legislature, which is the Senate. So one thing we're having is the Chinese buying land in North Dakota. There's people want me to draft some legislation that would address that. The CO2 pipeline that's coming through, they're offering about $7 or $8 a foot per running foot to go through people's land. Up north, they're paying $100 a foot for any pipeline. So it's really something that needs to be addressed as far as how they're trying to take advantage of landowners. We need to talk about some type of campaign finance reform this next session, so that when the governor puts in hundreds of thousands of dollars against us, I mean, most of us are I mean, I'm just a common man. I'm a I do plumbing and ranching, and I really can't afford to go against this big money every 2 years, because I went against it 2 years ago, and then this year, and then if I want to run in 2 years again, I'll be running against the big money 3 out of 4 years, and I can't afford it. So we need to look at some type of campaign finance reform, and some of that, I think I got to shut her down.
Well, I grew up on a dairy farm west of Alexandria, and that entirely shaped really who I was and how I've wound up living my life. I married my high school sweetheart. We moved out here. He was a welder. He was a city boy who loves the farm, so I have never lived in town. I mean, we have always done the country life, raising horses and beef cattle, and I'm proud to say all three of my kids are doing that as well, and that's where my heart is. And there's lots of things I could talk about, but agriculture is really it. I'm a CPA by training. I've done lots of consulting. I do a lot of oil and gas work, energy work, but ag is really where I'm at. And here in North Dakota, I mean, we're getting nipped at in all kinds of ways, whether it's wind towers, which in my view take up more agricultural land than they ought to. We have urban sprawl, particularly on the east side of the state, and we have foreign ownership now of land. We have the super wealthy acquiring a lot of land where they're no longer farming the land themselves, but really creating a tenant farmer situation, much like they would have had in Europe hundreds of years ago. Those are the issues I think that we have to address right now, is how do we protect family farmers and agricultural land. In 1950, there was 2.5 billion people on the whole planet. There's going to be 8 billion before the end of the year. So this little bit of farmland is needing to feed more and more and more people. There are real issues. North Dakota is tremendous in all kinds of crops. We are so important to the world, much less just our country, in feeding our people. So it's super important that we address this, and that if I can feel like I'm a success, it'll be causing some legislation that will help protect family farmers.
So I am very proud to have won the endorsement in the primary from the Republican Party. So Jeff, Sue, and I are unopposed as of right now. But something that I think is very true is that the campaign really starts now, and it shows what kind of person and what kind of candidate you are at this point in time, because we really have no opposition. And if we just sit home, if we do nothing, it kind of says who we actually are. So we are really proud to be in this event, Jeff, Sue, and I, because we want to work for you, the people of North Dakota and the people of District 8. A little bit about me. I'm a fourth-year student at the University of Minnesota. Got a lot of flack for that on the campaign trail, by the way. But I am studying history, philosophy, political science, and religion, and then I also am in the law school. I work for a law firm that does government litigation out of Minneapolis, and I also work for Bizman Online doing a lot of the behind-the-scenes technical operations. But that's enough about me. I actually want to talk a little bit more about what's going to go on in this session and things that are really important to me. One of the things that I have studied a lot in undergrad and in the School of Public Policy is security studies, and this is one of the biggest issues that people don't realize need to be focused on this session. You have an example in Grand Forks of Chinese influence coming in, being just a few miles away from the Grand Forks Air Force Base. And I want to make it very clear that the state of North Dakota should never sell land to a foreign entity, specifically the Chinese Communist government. And we need to work against that at every stage. We need to work against billionaire influences coming in and buying up our farmland. And we also need to make sure that our state dollars, our legacy fund dollars, the millions of dollars that we have right now overseas in Venezuela, China, Russia, all of those dollars need to come back home. They need to be appropriations in the state of North Dakota, working for the people of North Dakota and not anybody else and not any foreign adversary. So those are issues that I want to tackle. Additionally, I think, with the overturning of Roe v. Wade, this is such a huge issue going on right now. In North Dakota, what we've done is we've thrown everything at the wall to see what would stick. Now everything does stick, so we got to figure out what it all means. But more generally, we need to stop spending money. It's ridiculous how much money we spend in this state, and it's the return on investment, in fact, is not that great comparative to states just bordering our state. So we need to spend money wisely. We need to do it to protect the free market, and we need to do it to prepare long-term for our state.
I've been involved in politics basically since I got out of college. I worked for a conservative outfit out of DC called the Leadership Institute. My first job out of college was going from one campus to another, recruiting conservative students to start groups on campus. After that, I worked for the Republican Party of Iowa for about 6 months. I came back here to North Dakota and ended up with Ed Schaefer and Dwayne Sand at Americans for Prosperity. That converted into North Dakota Taxpayers Association, which then converted into North Dakota Watchdog Network, which I've been doing since 2012. I've been a lobbyist at the legislature since the 2009 session, but not the kind of lobbyist that goes and asks for stuff. When I go to the legislature, I'm asking them for less. I kind of call myself an anti-lobbyist in that regard, because there's usually about 600 lobbyists with a handout looking for more spending, more regulation, more government for whatever their pet cause is or pet organization. And it's my job as a taxpayer advocate to say no to that sort of thing and to try to convince legislators to say no to that sort of thing. County Commission was not on my radar until about November of last year, and some folks that I normally don't agree with came to me and said, we can't find anybody who wants to run. We know we disagree probably 80% of the time, but you'll at least talk to us. Our various governments don't talk to each other enough. They don't work together enough. When different governments don't get along, it costs everybody more. Now, they shouldn't rubber stamp each other's actions. It shouldn't be, just say yes to go along with everything. But our elected officials should not be making decisions that are ultimately going to cause the cost of their own government operations to go up. And when you duplicate programs and duplicate regulations, that's what happens.
I am originally from a small town in southwest Montana called Three Forks. I moved to North Dakota in 2005 to go to school. I was never going to live in North Dakota. I was going to come and go to school and leave. And I fell in love with the state, and I fell in love with man. And we lived in Fargo for a few years, and we moved to Bismarck in 2011 and have called Bismarck and Burley County home since then. I currently work in publications at Doosan Bobcat. I manage the computer system that manuals are written in that none of you read until something's broken. So I make sure that system works correctly. Before that, I ran the 4-H program for 4.5 years here in Burley County. It is still probably one of my favorite jobs I've ever had. I know what it's like to be a county employee. I know what it's like to work with a county commission, and I think we need a voice on the county commission that's new, that's fresh, that will listen not only to employees of the county commission, but residents. I grew up in a county and our house was on the corner of 3 counties, and nobody wanted anything to do with us. I'm sure there are some of you who are in that situation. Getting roads plowed was non-existent. My dad did it with the tractor, and I feel like as a county and as a county commission, we need to make sure that we're serving all members of the county, not just members who live in city limits or close to city limits. Another big issue for me that I feel like needs to be addressed is the Burley County Bookmobile. There are currently voices on the county commission who think that the Bookmobile and the library are a waste of taxpayer money. And I think that is very short-sighted. Right now, $13 of a taxpayer's dollar out in the county goes to fund the Burley County Bookmobile. That $13 goes and allows you to not only have access to the Bookmobile, but also when you're in town to use the city library. If we get rid of the Bookmobile, the relationship between the county and the city will change, and that means as a resident of the county, if you want to use any library services, you're paying $30 a year for that service to get a library card. So as Dustin was saying, I feel like there's opportunities for different taxpayer entities to work together. We don't need to have the us's versus them's. It needs to be the we's in order to serve the constituents the best.
I want to bring that voice of a business person to the commission. I grew up in rural North Dakota in Eddy County. My dad and my grandfather were both farmers. At 18, I thought I needed to find something else, so I joined the National Guard so I could get out of the state. After being gone for a while, I realized that this was home. I came back, I went to college, I met my wife of 32 years now. In 2001, we decided Bismarck was going to be our home, and we've been enjoying this area ever since. I currently run a business in Bismarck called Bismarck Sign Company. I've been in the sign business for 33 years of my life. It's been the passion that I've aspired to keep me going. We have employees, we deal with payroll, we deal with taxes, we deal with all of the things that run a business. That same interest goes over into the Burley County Commission. In the last 10 years, I've been elected to the Bismarck Park Board. So I've had the opportunity to understand budgets, understand different departments, different needs of different citizens, and how everybody has a want, everybody has a ask. The commissioners are the ones that have to try to figure out which way to go with those dollars to make it right for everybody. When I think about Burley County, one of the things that everybody talks about roads. There's a dollar amount that goes in the budget for roads. We've got 1,300 miles of gravel and 300 miles of paved roads in this county. We need to figure out a way to do a better service to you citizens that are out in the county to make sure that the roads are plowed, whether that's snow or the gravel. One of the things that I would like to see in Burley County is a administrator. Having worked a little bit with the city and a lot with the Bismarck Park Board, we have an administrator, we have a main contact. Right now you have commissioners that are taking on some administrative roles that I think should be handled by an administrator so that administrator reports to the county commissioners.
I'm Steve Schwab, live in Bismarck, and I own Bismarck Excavating. I believe it's the oldest excavating company in Bismarck. It probably hooked up wells for you people way back. I also have interest in cattle. I'm the only candidate, or if elected, commissioner that does have an ag interest. I promise I will never, ever support this critical race indoctrination of our students. I'm never going to tell people in the county they have to wear a mask. I'm never going to support it. I'm never going to support sanctuary city of Bismarck or Burleigh County, but what I will tell you I'll support in our education system, reading, writing, and arithmetic, and I honestly believe that the most of the people, by far, all they want to do is pay fair tax. They want security, our police department, the sheriff's department. They want good roads, and they don't want sex taught to their children in school. They want good teachers. After that, they want to be left alone. And that's where I feel that what is missing in government. Government gets too big. They get into your life. They have a restriction here. You know, there's a lot of money wasted, and I drive out in the county. Matter of fact, I bet a lot of you people are putting up hay right now. I'm in the same boat, rain. But why aren't we taking care of our bridges? Why do we have to detour around a bridge because it's got load restrictions? I'd like to see this county be the #1 county, the first county to replace bridges. They have grants for this. Now, rather than get a city administrator, I would rather hire, if it came up and I had a choice, somebody that can write grants. And he could work for the city and the county, and we could probably pick up money that way to do this stuff. But anyway, you know, my philosophy is, I don't think radical. I'm not an extremist or anything, but I think the people just want to take care of their own kids, run their own family, their own business, and I'll support them 100%, and I'll never support you people having to wear a mask. And that's all I got to say.
I'm Jerry Woodcocks, and I'm running for Burley County Commissioner. I was a former commissioner. I think I held virtually every portfolio that we have. And I'm a business owner in town, Bismarck. I'm in the dry cleaning laundry business, and I know how to make a payroll. I know how to pay taxes. I know how to keep a business alive, which in these days are very, very difficult. I've got a couple things that I want to do when I become a commissioner. One, we talked about an administrator. I think Burley County is way overdue for that. Running a county of this size with the portfolio system that we have is absolutely untenable. It's unbelievable. We have, I think, 8 different departments and 8 different department heads, and they work together sometimes, but a lot of times they don't. We need to have a county administrator or a manager, whatever you want to call them, with the authority to manage the eight groups together. And I think we could, it might be expensive to put him in originally, but I think the work that he can do will more than pay for the job. So then the county reports to him, and he reports back to the county. Whereas now, if we got good county commissioners and they handle their portfolios, it works. But if they don't, and if they sit back on their you-know-whats and don't do anything, the system fails. And so I think it's very important that we get that done, and that can be done in one budget session. If you read the paper today or heard on the news last night, Burley County just passed their preliminary budget, which is I think a $5.5 million increase. It can be cut, it can't be increased from that point, but I'm going to work directly with all the 5 commissioners to get that cut back to where so we get a 0 increase. In fact, the last 10 years, I think Burley County has done excellent work in keeping the county portion of your taxes stable. If you look at where your taxes are going up, it's primarily the school board. But that's a different story entirely. I think this is a unique election for Burley County in that all 3 incumbents are not running. So they're all going to be brand new, and I think that my experience in the past is going to be needed and to keep the county running on a stable basis and keep everything going conservative. I'm a fiscal conservative. I'm not a radical in either way. Somebody said that too, but I'm certainly not a radical on either direction. But I'm a fiscal conservative, and I work hard with the budget. I worked with our budget committee now that is in the county, I helped create that and sat on that committee for several years, and I think they've done a good job in managing how we handle our budgets. But that's primarily why I'm here. I'm wide open for any questions. I'm an NDSU grad. I went to school way back then, way back when that was AC. What else? I think we've got, right now, we voted in about 10 years ago when we had our new jail, our new combined Morton Burley Detention Center. We voted in a half-cent sales tax, countywide. And that is due to run out. And when that runs out, then there won't be any money to operate the jail. So I think we should continue that half-cent sales tax, which we really absorb. You don't even know you pay it. And I think that would entirely take that money and put it to the use of the jail, expenses in the jail. If we don't do that, those expenses will fall onto the property tax, which is really the only way the county has to levy any money. We don't have any way of getting it other than your property taxes, which we all like to complain about. But I will certainly answer any phone calls, any emails. I've always been very diligent about that. Nobody calls me and I don't answer. I leave the phone lay or never get back to you. So, am I done? Apparently.